Here we'll discuss types of studies. This statement says, a state legislature is interested in enrollment figures for colleges and universities in their state. The schools are divided by type: two-year colleges, public four-year institutions, and private four-year institutions. The legislators randomly select from each type of school and obtain the number of full-time students enrolled from the school records. Let's draw a picture to show this situation. This rectangle would represent the population. Let's have a look at the question and attempt to figure out what population we are discussing. Let's think about what the subject is of this question. Line 1 says that the state legislature is interested in enrollment figures from colleges and universities. So, the population we are studying are colleges and universities in their state. In line 2, we are also told that they are divided by type. We have two-year colleges, public four-year institutions, and also private four-year institutions. We have three distinct groups then. We'll label them two-year, four-year public, and four-year private. In line 3, we are also told that we are randomly selecting from all three types of schools. To show this, we'll show a random selection from all three types. The blue dots will represent items that are sampled from each type. We are also told that the thing we're studying is the number of full-time students. Let's make a note of that. With this in mind, let's answer the following questions. First, in Part A, we are asked to identify the population of interest. This is something we've already answered. We are studying colleges and universities in the state. I want to point out that we are only studying the colleges and universities in that state. This won't tell us anything about other states' colleges and universities. Part B asks us to identify the variable of interest in the study. We have to ask the question, what are we looking at? And what data are we gathering? In line 3, let's remind ourselves we have obtained the number of full-time students. So we know what population we're gathering from and the item we're trying to gather. In Part C, we're asked, is the data categorical or quantitative? Quantitative means something numerical. Anything that can be measured or counted. Categorical are things that must be described and are not numerical. Now, the data we are gathering says we are looking at the number of full-time students. This is something numerical, so we can say that this data is quantitative. Question D asks, what type of study is performed? An observational study or an experiment? Let's distinguish between these two. An observational study is where we are only looking at information. In an experiment, we are attempting to influence our sample in some way. And after that, we would see what happens next. Now, in our case, all we are doing is obtaining the number of full-time students. We are not attempting to do anything with those students. We are only observing how many students we have. Now, since we're not trying to influence anything, it wouldn't make sense to call this an experiment. because we were only looking. Therefore, we would say that this is an observational study. There's nothing in the description that would tell us that we are trying to influence them in some way. Part E asks, what type of sampling technique was used? Explain your answer based on the details given in the description. Let's have a look at our picture here in the upper right. We can tell that we've broken them into groups. As we know, if we break them into groups, that could be cluster or it could be stratified. But we also notice that we're not selecting the entire group. We're selecting randomly from each group. Therefore, because we are selecting randomly from each group, that is not cluster, that is stratified. When you're attempting to define a study, it's vital to know the population you're studying, the data you're gathering, whether that data is categorical or quantitative, whether you're only looking or attempting to run an experiment, and the type of sampling that you intend to use.